Good evening, residents of Everett, Washington. I'd like to call the order of the Everett City Council meeting, February 21st, 2024. The City Council meets all requirements of the State of Washington Open Public Meetings Act. Community members are welcome to join either in person, via Zoom, or by calling in. For those who wish to participate in the future via Zoom, you'll find the instructions to register for public comment on the City of Everett website under the City Council Department. Please note, we do not allow comment of any kind of campaigning, whether for or against ballot measures or candidates running for office. We also do not accept comments focused on personal matters that are unrelated to city business. We ask the audience refrain from clapping, cheering, and booing, and no signs of any kind are allowed to be in the chambers. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Franklin.
Excuse.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Here.
Councilmember Vogely. Here. Councilmember Bader.
Here.
Councilmember Ryan. Here. Councilmember Tui.
Here.
President Schwab.
Here. Councilmember Fossey has requested to attend remotely this evening based on Resolution 7891, Section 3.2D, limiting council members to remote participation, no more than one council meeting per quarter per calendar year. I would like to make a motion to make an exception to allow Councilmember Fossey to attend this evening's meetings remotely. Do I have a second?
Councilor Ryan seconds.
I've heard a motion and a second. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes, Clerk, please take the roll for Councilmember Fossey.
Councilmember Fossey.
Yes.
Yay! I'd like to ask Vice President Zarlingo to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, I'd like to ask Councilmember Vogely to read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you. The City Council wishes to acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Shohosh people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people, stories, and voices to form a more just and equitable society.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for approval of the minutes for February 14th, 2024?
Councilor Ryan so moves.
Second. From Bader. Oh, sorry.
Second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fossey.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes?
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. In the mayor's absence, I'd like to welcome Deputy Chief Irving, who will be introducing two new police officers.
Thank you, Council President Schwab and council members. It's my distinct pleasure to be able to present to you our newest police officer for the Everett Police Department. Officer Robob Gassassis. Robob was born and raised in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. He graduated high school in 2004 and went on to earn his associate's degree in information technology. Robob moved to Washington State in 2018 to be closer to his family. After college, Robob worked with different organizations on various projects to include improvements to the coffee farming process and efforts to help prevent the spread of HIV. Prior to joining EPD, Robob worked with the University of Washington and the Seattle Fire Department to open 3 COVID-19 walk-in testing centers. Robob was first hired by the Everett Police Department as a parking enforcement officer in early 2023. He was impressed with the officers he interacted with, and it sparked his interest to pursue a career in law enforcement. With the support of his supervisor and team, he applied to become a police officer. With the inside perspective he gained as a parking enforcement officer, Everett PD was an easy choice for Robob when considering his options. He liked our commitment to our community engagement and proactive policing strategies aimed at building trust and improving public safety. Robob completed the Basic Law Enforcement Academy on February 8th He's excited to be back at the department to continue learning while making a positive impact in our community. In his free time, Robob enjoys Latin dancing, watching movies, playing video games, and spending time with his family. Council, I present to you Officer Robob Gasassa for swearing in.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept Roba Gassessa as the newest member of the Everett Police Department?
So moved.
Second the motion?
Motion and second. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Rob Gassessa,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I am a citizen of the United States or
I
a
am-
law
I am a citizen of the United States
or a lawful permanent resident,
or a lawful permanent resident,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Washington,
the Constitution and laws of State of Washington,
and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Everett,
and the Charter and ordinance of the City of Everett,
and that I will faithfully,
and that will, and I will faithfully,
honestly, and impartially
honestly, and partially
perform the duties of police officer
perform the duty of police officer
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations and welcome.
Congratulations, since you're choosing Everett.
Okay, before moving on to public, further comments, I'd like to share some of the correspondence that we've been receiving recently. Under our rules, where written comments shall be considered in the same manner as oral comments. We've been receiving a lot of emails that have been anonymous, which we really appreciate. Any comments, whether written or verbal or in person, but if you would like your comment to be made for the public record permanently, then we ask, just like in person, that you have your name and the city in which you reside in. Hi, Angie. Do we have anyone to speak today?
We do. We did also receive written comment, which I need to read names into the record for. So the following names is in regards to the EHA Park District, Lauren Rahimi and Rachel Pearson. And then the following are in regards to Clark Park Gazebo, Diana Haynes, David Barr, Christy Pruitt, John Phillips, Henry Cotter, and Lisa Phillips. And I've provided these to council, legal, and city clerk and administration to be part of the record. And I would like to call Jane up to the podium. And just hit the bottom right button of the base of the microphone. And you will have 3 minutes to speak, and there's a monitoring system there on the right. When it turns, the yellow light comes on, you'll have 30 seconds left, and then a sound will go off when your time is up.
Okay,
So you can start
you.
anytime.
all right. Oop, glasses. Now? Okay. Good evening, City Council representatives, and especially I want to point out to District Representatives 1 and 2 that if I email bombed you this evening, it was purely just not knowing when I was getting it right. So apologize for all those extra things in your email box. So, good evening. My name is Jane McClure. Thank you for letting me speak this evening. I am currently serving with the Bayside Neighborhood Association, and I'm on the steering committee and have been since 2018. I agree with the Historical Commission on so many points. I fostered grand ideas about returning the gazebo to a beautiful attraction available to our community for personal and public functions, returning it to the centerpiece of Clark Park, where it became the beginning of a movement that would reclaim the park to its former glory. And I'm not sure when that decade was, but I'm still open to that dream. So 5 years of research in, with meetings with Parks and Rec and the city project manager, we still have not been able to figure out that there is enough money to fix what ails our gazebo. And I'm sorry about that, but I am still open to help and to the dream. Today's realities in the park are not those of 100 years ago or even 20 years ago, when the park started into major decline. So B&A has explored the viability as an acoustic stage, incentivized use to offset costs, ways to keep it available for public events. At every turn, bringing the gazebo up to ADA standards or adding lighting, electricity, public restroom facilities, keeping the park clean, free of drug paraphernalia. All our efforts have been thwarted by the realities of the drug use, the unsheltered, and the violence that periodically takes place in Clark Park, and which keeps our public and our residents away in droves. So the answers to these problems don't lie with the divisive rhetoric and finger-pointing solution. Bayside Neighborhood Association would have welcomed the Historical Commission's support at any time. However, in 5 years, this is the first interest that has been shown about Clark Park and what we've been up against for quite a while. We welcome answers to the following, not just the improvements to the gazebo, but we want help with how do we pay for it? How do we keep it maintained? What will it be used for by residents today? It holds about 15 to 20 people with tables and chairs. It holds about 10 people lying down. There's no access to water, no access to electricity. How do we keep it available to the general public? It's not ADA accessible. Who will be present once the park to keep it restored and to keep it from being vandalized and mistreated? And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Chelsea, if you could please come to the podium. Please state your full name and city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Do I need to press the button?
No, it's on.
Okay. Find my page here. By now, you all know my name. Chelsea Gray, 9+ year resident in Port Gardner and then Bayside. But you'll soon find out who I am. Sorry, I'm sick. Beyond the quiet and community-oriented Everett citizen you never heard a peep from until 10/13/23, when I became the target of a local criminal ring. And who you'd never have heard from if only EPD were as focused on investigating crime in Everett as they are on attempting to demean and discredit reporting witnesses. And that is on this council as the governing body of this city, and on Mayor Cassie Franklin as the official head of the Everett Police Department. But I will say that in attending these meetings, I learned a lot. Each meeting, I hear you open with an oath to the indigenous people from whom this land was stolen. But I see no First Nations represented on this council, save that often repeated lip service. And in that time, I've heard no motions or initiatives to the betterment or service of those tribes. I've seen this council pay the very same lip service to Dr. Martin Luther King and the civil rights that he stood for, while you watch me be stripped of mine one by one right in front of you. And with the aid of and even by the very department that you lead. There isn't much more I can tell you now, other than how sad it is that high-priced lawyers will now sift through the abundance of digital evidence corroborating my claims, because EPD would not. I've made a third update to my original FBI report, and my spoofed home Wi-Fi network, the aptly named Mayday, and the submitted evidence of that spoof in violation of Washington Cybercrime Act, RCW 9890, something or other. And the breach of multiple devices, which at that time I didn't know the mode of. I've since found out that the mode is by Flipper Zero handheld hacking device, and I've additionally reported both my landlord and EPT to the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division individually, and EPD alone to the Washington State ACLU, both of which I'm thrilled to be working with from here on out, instead of continuing to try to work with an EPD that refuses to investigate the very serious issue of Flipper Zero attacks in Everett, and a city council meeting that doesn't seem to care. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comments.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to council comments and liaison reports. Councilmember Zarlingo.
Thank you, Council President. Let's see. First item for me is the Planning Commission's hearing in these chambers last night. A 3-hour-long meeting about primarily about the Park District development that's being proposed, and they're leaving it open at the end for more public comment, because not everybody who wanted to comment could stay around that long. It was a very significant briefing by our planning director, and lots of questions and engagement on all sides. I'd like to thank the staff and applicants for their briefing materials, for answering all those questions. It was a bit of a long slog even for me, remote to that, for 3 hours. But I also want to send my appreciation to the Planning Commission itself for their engagement, the questions, their pre-study, the discussions. This is a big, complicated proposal, and in a way it's kind of a clue to what's coming to us with the comprehensive plan update, some of the state mandated changes to our zoning processes and land use. So I think this is a good thing, if you haven't already seen it, to look at, or look at the documents for that all on the website. And also it brings up questions about resources. One of the things that we've heard a lot from the neighborhood in that area is the kind of resources that have been devoted to that area in the past, and maybe haven't been in some cases, and the kinds of situation we're going to be in as a city in terms of the resources we have now and going forward, and the revenue options we're considering. So all of these things come together. I was really gratified that especially the Planning Commission was looking at all the different trade-offs that are involved in this, because that's really what happens when we're trying to accommodate this many extra people that we need to in the decades to come, and still preserve a quality of life and make it all make sense financially and in terms of that quality of life. So thanks to them, and if you're interested in this kind of thing, I would definitely suggest viewing that. Another meeting this morning, the Joint Policy Committee studying Everett Transit and Community Transit potential merger. It's a process that's gone on, very, very thorough, and a long process with lots of twists and turns. And that has been rolled out, I think, January 31st before this council, and then to to the Community Transit Board, to the unions involved. And the public will be hearing more of that in the months to come. And then I think that's the kind of thing this council will be taking on most of a year from now. And then the last thing was a meeting earlier on this evening of the council's Parks and Quality of Life Committee. And for an update on that, I will pass it to our co-chair, Liz Vogley.
Thank you. Councilmember Fosse.
Thank you, President Schwab. I was also able to attend the Joint Policy Committee earlier today, and I don't need to echo Councilmember Zarlingo's excellent comments on that. So I wanted to also extend a very happy welcome to new police officer. Thank you for your service. And thank you to everyone that submitted a written comments. I encourage our neighbors to continue to do that. It helps inform our decisions that we're making. And I also wanted to extend a thank you to our neighbor, Jane Plur, for very eloquently explaining the dynamics of the Clark Park gazebo. And that was just a very helpful, dynamic kind of sentiment of a very nuanced issue. And I just appreciate them taking the time to actually come speak to the council on that issue. That's all I have today.
Thank you. Councilmember Mobley.
Thank you. To go into the Parks and Quality of Life Committee meeting that we had today, it was interesting because I remember at our retreat, there was a lot of, and especially from me because I love having conversation, and so you've heard me say, let's converse. And so let's see, what am I trying to say? At the retreat, we had a lot of talk about having discussions rather than going towards briefing, and seeing if we could have less briefing, more talk amongst council members. And it would appear that that happened today, even though we weren't quite ready for it. So that was tricky. It was a little bit shorter than a normal one. We didn't have a briefing, but we were actually able to discuss some of the things, all of the things on our list. So I guess moving forward, if you are the chair or co-chair of a committee moving forward, make sure the communication with admin states whether it's going to be a briefing or a discussion or both. And that discussion was about parks, quality of life, as you can imagine, and a vacancy registry storefront ordinance, of which we have and will be looking more into, so that we can have a more full-fledged discussion the next time we meet. Thank you, Jane, and also a lot of the other folks who wrote about the Clark Park gazebo. I was able to have a few communications with them, email back and forth, and that was heartening, and so I appreciate that, and I appreciate your feedback. And I'm really glad that Chelsea has somebody that is listening to her and taking her seriously. And I hope that she gets that figured out soon, because it sounds like it has been quite traumatic. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bader.
Thanks, Council President. Real quick, attended the library board meeting last night. Most of that, or much of that was about sharing comments or information that had happened or been shared at a meeting that the mayor and Lori had with the employees and the board there. So that was good information, and appreciated that as well. And only other thing I'd note, I think Everett Reed's book that we, many Everett residents read together, The New Wilderness. I think the author was supposed to be coming in on the 23rd, but that's been postponed as well. So stay tuned for that. And finally then attended the Bayside neighborhood meeting last night, and Jane was there, so that was a great bit of information attended on behalf of Councilmember Fosse, and some good comments about the gazebo, but also some good information, public works plans regarding developing more capacity for stormwater outflow, and obviously of interest to the Bayside neighborhood. So that was well shared, and Jennifer Gregerson was there as well to share some other information about what's going on in the city. So great meeting. Appreciate all the work that the Bayside neighborhood folks do, and enjoyed that a lot. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Ryan.
Great. Good evening, everybody. Been busy this last week. Last Thursday, I attended the second session of the mayor's drug task force, and it was a really great conversation. Folks divvied up into different discussion groups just to talk about identifying ways that the drug crisis has impacted housing, public spaces, local businesses, and our neighborhoods. And so there was just a good format where folks had discussions, then moved to different topic areas to flesh it out more and then share larger with the group, just so that everybody can get kind of a baseline knowledge and a baseline understanding of what the drug crisis is for the city of Everett and what it looks like, so that we can move forward with just getting a better grip on solutions. So part of that baseline will be continued to be explored at the next meeting, which will include people with lived experience. There'll be a panel discussion so that folks can share about what they have gone through and ways that they came out of it, and just what their journey looks like to help folks without lived experience to get a better understanding of it. The meeting also had folks, or Abby from the library, a parks ranger, and Tom from transit to talk about specific ways that the drug crisis is impacting those city departments here at the city, and things that they've seen during their work in the community. So it was very helpful just to know just how that's impacting our city services and our city staff, and just the emotional labor that can go into a lot of those issues as well. So great discussions, looking forward to continuing to explore all of that. On Monday, I attended the Lowell Neighborhood Association meeting and had a good discussion with the group, pretty good turnout. And on Tuesday, I attended the Valley View Neighborhood Association meeting. Folks are always looking for more people to participate at their neighborhood associations, so I'd encourage people to go online to discover which neighborhood you're in and when your neighborhood meets, so that you can get more involved. I wanted to share a couple save the dates for some upcoming things. Tomorrow is the Land Acknowledgement Art Unveiling and Dedication here at the Everett Municipal Building, which is at noon, and the public is welcome to join. This Sunday, the Everett Farmers Market is having a Get Ready Market, so they'll be setting up shop here in downtown Everett, so come on by and get your local fruits and vegetables and goodies. And next Tuesday is the Historic Commission meeting, and I'm the council liaison for that. And there is a discussion item on there about the Clark Park gazebo, and staff will be on hand to discuss just some more behind the scenes of what's going on with that. The public is able to attend. It's hosted on via Teams and also in person, I believe. It's my first liaison, first time attending it, so I don't have a good understanding of what public comment looks like or participation, but I did want the public to know that they can tune in to listen and to hear more from staff about that situation. And I'm really hoping to find a compromise in this situation. I think that there's an opportunity for some of the parts of it to be saved, but also addressing and honoring the concerns of the neighborhood. And I'm still working on trying to get answers on if it's possible for the gazebo to be surplused and possibly auctioned off so that we can work with just the financial component of the situation. So all sorts of good stuff. Great, thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Councilmember Tui.
Oh, yeah, I was able to attend the Delta neighborhood for Councilmember Fossey this week. And the neighbors had a long discussion about the Parks District. We've heard a lot from them, which is great. Their wishes for what will happen there, and of course, their concerns. So lot more to come on that. And last night I was able to listen to the majority of the Planning Commission meeting, which was on the Parks District. So a lot more information there as we kind of start to get ready for the presentation that will be coming to council. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. For my comments, I just want to acknowledge a lot of the written email communications on several different issues, and really appreciating it. It's been a busy week of reading, as we all know. Just want to acknowledge some of the emails over the Parks District project, the gazebo, of course. There's been a lot of, I appreciate all the comments about crime and drug use in downtown and traffic issues. Just want to acknowledge to those that may be watching that it's been a lot of reading and really appreciate the feedback. Also want to just thank Councilmember Bader and Tui for neighborhood association hopping, and you don't necessarily haven't assigned a district, obviously. So thanks for, it's important for you to get out there and go to the other districts, so I appreciate you two being a part of that.
Food is usually good.
All right, do we have an administrative update?
Other than, thank you, Councilmember Ryan, for noting tomorrow's, the the unveiling for the land acknowledgement, which will be at noon here, right in front of the Everett Municipal Building. So look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, and now to our city attorney, David Hall.
I don't have a report, and we're not requesting an executive session. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, we have 12 consent items before us. Do I hear a motion and a second to adopt the 12 consent items?
So move the motion to adopt the consent items.
Councilmember Bader, a second.
There's a motion and a second. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes?
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Moving on to our action items. We have items 13 through 18, third and final reading. We'll start off with item 13, CB 2401-77, third and final reading, adopt an ordinance closing a special improvement project entitled MLU Park Improvements, Fund 354, Program 064, as established by ordinance number 3797-21. Do I have a motion?
Councilmember Ryan, so moves.
Second?
There's been a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes?
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Item number 14, CB 2401-78, third and final reading, adopt an ordinance creating a special improvement project entitled Edgewater Creek Bridge Replacement Fund 303, Program 115, to accumulate all costs for the improvement and repealing ordinance number 3709-19. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion is second. Are there any questions? Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes?
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Item number 15, CB 2401-79, third and final reading, adopt an ordinance creating a special improvement project entitled Forest Park Pickleball Court Installation, Fund 354, Program 093, to accumulate all design and permit costs for the project in the amount of $250,000. Do I hear a motion?
Councilmember Ryan, so moves.
And second?
A motion is second. Are there any questions? Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Can you repeat that, Councilmember Fosse?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes?
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Item number 16, CB 2401-80, third and final reading, adopt an ordinance creating a special improvement project entitled Kiwanis Park Renovations, Fund 354, Program 090, to accumulate all project costs in the amount of $411,000. Do I hear a motion?
Councilmember Ryan, so moves.
Second, Councilmember Bader.
Heard a motion and a second. Are there any questions?
Just a quick comment. It's my understanding that the Parks Department will be at the Port Garter Neighborhood Association meeting next month to talk more about this project. So I would encourage folks to come and join to hear more about it. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments? Okay. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes?
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Item number 17, CB 2401-81, third and final reading, adopt an ordinance creating a special improvement project entitled Laramie Barn Demolition, Fund 354, Program 097, to accumulate all costs for a project in the amount of $85,000. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I had a motion, a second. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Item number 18, CB 2401-82, third and final reading, adopt an ordinance closing a special improvement project entitled Madison Morgan Park Improvements, Fund 354, Program 063, as established by ordinance number 3818-21. Do I hear a motion?
Councilmember Bader, so moves.
Seconded.
There's a motion, a second. Are any questions or comments? Hearing none. Clerk, will you take the roll, please?
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. So next we'll have a briefing and a proposed action item. I'll read into the record. Item number 19, CB 2402-83, first reading. Adopt an ordinance amending ordinance number 3779-20 as amended entitled Everett Municipal Building Public Works Tenant Improvement Project, Fund 342, Program 42 and 43, Fund 336, Program 015, to accumulate all costs for the project. Third and final reading is March 6, 2024. And we have the Parks and Facilities Director.
Not quite, Parks and
Not
Facilities
quite.
Assistant Director. Yeah.
Assistant Director, well, we're glad to have you.
Right, well, he's right behind me, so he's
Okay.
no, he's
Oh, there he is, yep.
Well, thank you, Council President Schwab and council members, for your time this evening to discuss and update you on the Everett Municipal Building Public Works Tenant Improvements Project. It's a mouthful. My name is Jeff Harris, and I'm the city's Assistant Facilities Director. In this briefing, I plan to review the project scope and origination, the costs associated with the project, some cost comparables performed by other municipalities in our area, the schedule, as well as some other information about the project. Here's a list of the major components of the project. The majority of the work specified in this project was identified and originated from the Facilities Condition Assessment report that was completed by Meg Analysis in 2019 and briefed to Council in February of 2020. With this project, we plan to completely replace the roofing system of the building being the Everett Municipal Building next door. Typical lifespan for an insulated commercial PVC roof in the Pacific Northwest is about 20 to 30 years. The original construction of the roof was in 1980 when the building was built. Now, while some repair and renovation work has been accomplished, back in the mid to late 90s, the roofing system has multiple points of failure with new cracks and leaks popping up just in the last months. With having 44 years passed since the original construction, city has done well to extract as much useful life from this particular building system, but replacement is just needed at this point. We also plan to modernize the elevators and update the control system for the elevators in this project. Now, to my knowledge, the elevators have not been modernized since installation in the 1980s. There's been component replacements, inspection, and maintenance work performed to keep the elevators functioning. But as most of the city staff and maybe even some of you experienced earlier this month, when the elevators decided to stop working and open to random floors and take people to places in the building they really didn't wish to go, the controls are failing. Parts are getting more difficult to source, and it'll only get worse as the system continues to age. Average useful life of most commercial elevators is about 20 to 25 years, so we've done well, again, to get our money's worth out of these elevators, but we are at the point where modernization is needed to assure proper and safe functionality. The HVAC system is also slated for a major replacement and renovation with this project. The system was identified as one of the higher priority systems that needed capital investment in the 2019 FCA study. At the EMB, there's been 45 years worth of renovations, remodels, and maintenance and repairs with some major component replacements occurring in that time span. But mostly the system has remained unchanged, even with all the changes the building has experienced over the last 4 decades. The system is still utilizing pneumatic controls as compressed air-powered controls, and is extremely temperamental and faulty, as experienced by multiple building occupants and visitors, council members included. I get those phone calls as well. The average useful life for HVAC systems in the Pacific Northwest is anywhere from 15 to 25 years, highly variable, but the fact that the city has gone almost 45 years without a complete system replacement and the system still functions, not well, but still functions, speaks to the city's ability to extract as much useful life from this critical building system and stretch its capital investments as far as it can go. We are well past the system's intended useful life, though, and full replacement is needed to not only meet the needs of the building going forward, help manage increasing maintenance costs for this system, but also to bring the building to a more energy-efficient, operational, and cost-effective place. As one of the largest buildings in the city's portfolio, the EMB is under new legal requirements to meet certain energy performance standards by 2027. These are the clean building energy standards that state law requires for commercial buildings. During this project, we are also making much-needed repairs and upgrades to the building's electrical service, distribution, and lighting control systems. We experienced a catastrophic emergent failure of the electrical distribution system in late 2023, showing the age and need for replacement and renovation. Typical electrical distribution systems have an average life of about 20 to 35 years, with different components of the entire system having varied lifespans. Most of the electrical wiring and infrastructure is original to the building and thus is around that 45 years old mark. Given the recent mass failure occurring at the end of 23 and the overall age of the system and operational needs for the city, it is time for a major renovation and replacement of the electrical distribution system. Along with this work, we plan to make needed repairs and updates to the lighting control system as well. This will improve functionality and allow for more controlled operation of the building lights, with the goal being to reduce energy consumption. The building's fire system has undergone numerous maintenance and repair projects over the building's 45-year history. Most recent updates occurred in the late 2010s and early 2020s. With bifurcation of the water supply system, this isolated the sprinkler system from the domestic water system. With the renovation work occurring in the building and the condensing of building occupants, it is essential that the fire system functions and meets the needs of the building post-construction. We also plan to replace the building's backup emergency power generator. When long-term running of the generator in an emergency is needed, due to its current configuration, the current generator causes smoke and fumes to enter the building while it's in use, making operational use of the building very difficult while the generator runs. We plan to correct the issue in the project by relocating the new generator outside of the building. The average lifespan for generators is about 15 to 20 years, depending on available parts and maintenance performed during that time. Our generator is over 40-plus years old and has become unreliable in an emergency setting. The fact the generator still runs, albeit with a lot of help, is impressive, but increasingly unreliable. With the planned building occupant changes and operational need changes occurring after completion of the project, more critical operational systems will need to be added to the generator for use and functionality during an emergency power outage. We also plan to update the building's restrooms and domestic hot water distribution system. The current water heaters are bifurcated on each floor and are difficult to access and repair, increasing maintenance costs. There's a potential for resource conservation and energy reductions by moving to a differently configured system. Many of the plumbing fixtures in the building have leaked in the recent past, causing building damage and unsanitary conditions when those failures do occur. Old fixtures, well past their useful life, not only pose a bigger threat for failure, but often cause operational and maintenance costs to be higher as facilities is forced to respond to malfunctioning or defunct equipment. As like most of other critical building systems, these are all well past their expected useful life or in need of complete replacement and renovation. Finally, we get to the remodeling of approximately half of the building's occupiable square footage. Now, just like mechanical or electrical building systems, walls, paint, carpet also have expected useful lives and need to be replenished and replaced in order to avoid safety hazards, unsightliness, and the ability to leverage the space to its fullest potential when looking to lease, rent, or utilize the available space. With 40% of the building currently unoccupied, now is the perfect time to renovate these open spaces and create spaces that the city can leverage in the future. These remodeled spaces will house over 100 utility and city workers that will relocate to this building after construction is completed. This consolidation benefits the city in numerous ways. It consolidates the majority of city services that the public utilizes, creating a centralized hub for citizens who have business with the city. Things like permitting, planning, utility billing, and the clerk's office will all be in one building. Excuse me. lost my place. Making knowing where to go for city services very simple for citizens. The renovations in this project will make available spaces for general fund employees that are currently housed in the utilities lease space. This will reduce the burden on the general fund by reducing lease payments. Also, these spaces will house some 60-plus utility staff that will create a revenue income for the general fund by way of lease payments from the utility to the general fund. There are just a lot of positives that come from this portion of the project, and for work that would have to occur anyway, because in its current condition, the city would not be able to leverage the space to its fullest potential. That was a long one. It was a mouthful. There's a lot of work happening, though, with this project.
Thank you, good job. You only started a couple.
Yeah, right? No,
Good job, great. Do we have any questions?
Oh, we totally.
I know, but so far, do we have
Yeah,
any
I know.
questions?
The rest of it will go
Yeah.
increasingly quick.
Okay, Mary? Oh, Councilmember Fosse?
Thank you. Were there any, because you talked about resource conservation, I don't know if there was any like energy upgrades with any of the HVAC or anything like that. Were any other sort of grants or funding opportunities sought out with these type of upgrades from other sources?
They were sought out. We did not, I believe we applied for an HVAC grant and were denied from it, right? So we weren't able to access that grant. And with where we're at in the project now, we're out of the grant cycle for any additional monies to come. So attempts were made, but we just didn't get it.
Hey, go ahead, I was just trying to give you a break here.
No, you're totally
Yeah,
fine.
right.
We're good. So now, with all that work that this project will accomplish, let's move to the cost information and how the project will be funded. We'll be breaking the project cost into two parts, the shell and core work and the tenant improvement work. The shell and core work is the majority of the project and is work that must be accomplished. The body of the work includes items and building systems that are integral to the operation of a building and are expected amenities that would be provided in any commercial building. Things like restrooms, elevators, fire safety systems, and HVAC systems are examples of this, and the costs associated with this body of work will be covered by the general fund. The other portion of the work is the tenant improvement scope of the work. This work relates to the demolition, remodeling, and project costs associated with creating space needed to relocate approximately 100 staff members, and it's about a 40-60 general fund utility split out of the less structurally sound Service Center 1 building on Cedar Street and into the newly remodeled EMB. The city will split this portion of the project with the utility, 60% for utility being covered by Utilities Fund 401 and the remaining being covered by the general fund. The good stuff. So here's the cost breakdown of the project. As you can see, the total estimated cost of this project is $35,858,856. I did have to share this bottom part with you because it's been years, especially pre-pandemic, that I've seen a project come in under the schematic design estimate, right? And we actually came in over $2 million under the estimate when we bid this project out. So something good to share. Below that are the shell and core and tenant improvement cost breakdowns using that roughly $36 million all-in project cost. After that is a further breakdown of the tenant improvements cost for the project, with the split being a 60-40 split of these costs by the general fund and the utility. The total general fund contribution for this project is estimated at around $29,653,253. We plan to cover any shortage in the general fund CIP 1 budget through an interfund loan from the Utilities Fund 401, which will be paid back through a planned bond issuance in 2025. So after seeing those costs, I think it's good to see how this project compares, at least cost-wise, to other similar projects from like or nearby municipalities. I personally contacted each of these other municipalities and spoke with either a finance or project staff to obtain this information about their respective city hall renovation or construction projects. As you can see, the city of Redmond had about a $350 cost per square foot on a very similar sized building and project type. Now, this cost is over 20 years old at this point, and illustrates that if just adjusted for inflation, our project cost would probably be about the same, if not a little better. The city of Mukilteo had a new construction build project back in 2004, paid about $548 a square foot for their project. This project was completed 15 years ago and did include some LEED certification construction, but even if adjusted for inflation, the cost on our project really looks appropriate for the amount of work we're accomplishing. Our third comparable is from our neighbor to the north, Marysville. They recently built a brand-new civic center, which included a bunch of stuff like a jail and a police station. I just focused on the similar build portion of that project in their civic building build-out. And just on that portion of their project, the cost was close to what we are expecting to pay for our project, and it's recent, just a few years ago. So while the cost may seem expensive when compared to other similar projects, I feel the data shows the city is getting a good price for this work. I personally take my fiduciary responsibility to the city very seriously and have done everything and will continue to do everything I can to ensure the city's investment lasts as long as possible and we are getting the best quality and service for our investment. Please.
Councilmember Zarlingo.
So I think the numbers you show here are not inflation adjusted, and I'm mindful of Director Sass's numbers from the past couple of years about construction cost inflation.
Sure.
As opposed, that has been substantially above consumer cost, consumer inflation indexes, haven't they?
Especially since the pandemic. I mean, we were seeing 10, 12, 14% inflation for months, like month and month and month. So yeah, these are the numbers of the project as the cost of when the projects happen. So the top two were about 20 years ago. The Marysville project just started in 2018 and just came online a few years ago. So yeah, you would need to adjust these numbers for inflation, and if adjusted even just at 4%, say, we're on par with what we're expecting to pay per square foot.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's the estimated schedule for the project. Very high level, but it shows that we plan to begin construction and demolition toward the end of March, beginning of April. Construction will last through the rest of 2024 and into early 2025. We anticipate most of the restroom and floor renovations to be wrapping up by the end of Q1 and early Q2 of 2025, with most of the work in 2025 being those long lead items like elevators and generators, and major building system swap overs and completions occurring in the same time, like the electrical distribution system, right? I rebuild the electrical system, I got to swap it over from the old to the new. Same thing with the HVAC, right? I want to keep the old HVAC running, but I have to swap it over to the new. Okay, so another thing that I really wanted to brief on this project is the labor utilization estimates that have been produced by our prime contractor, BN Builders. I know labor utilization, representation, and ensuring folks are getting paid a fair wage and have good working conditions is extremely important to both city administration and our council. You may recall that a third-party analysis on whether a PLA should be used on this project was performed by Intelligent Partnerships. The report examined the current city purchasing policy as well as current PLA resolution. The consultant's conclusion was that in accordance with the analysis requirements in Resolution 7461 and the city's procurement policy, a PLA for this project will not yield the value the city seeks and is not recommended. It also concluded that the city of Everett should utilize its existing policies and practices to maximize the values it intends and consider additional tracking support for this project that could begin to inform performance desired in PLA projects against those without them. We are pleased to say we are pleased to say, however, even though we're not utilizing a PLA on this project, our prime contractor, BN Builders, does employ 100% unionized construction labor for their company. Also, approximately 98% of the labor utilized on this project will be represented labor, with 28% of the labor being local, and local in this case means Snohomish County. With 100% of the labor coming from businesses within the state. I think the furthest subcontractor is Tukwila. So, and also looking at the apprenticeship utilization on this project, we plan to not only meet the 15% requirement, but are looking to exceed that number where possible, and our contractor is on board with that as well. So lastly, just talk about next steps for council. As this is the first reading for this ordinance, you can expect 2 more readings with a vote on passage at the 3rd reading scheduled for March 6th. Soon after, we plan to have an action item brought forth to authorize the mayor to sign the construction amendment with BN Builders for the construction of the project. And with that, that ends my briefing, and I'd be happy to take any questions you guys have.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the council? Councilmember Ryan.
Thank you. That was a lot.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
First, I would like, for the good of the order, to mention that the municipal building was born the same year that I was. So
Hey
in
now.
case
Hey
you're
now.
wondering how old it is, got a good visualization right here. My apologies if this was included in all of that, but if you could expand a little bit more about considerations for the environment and climate change, and I feel like this is like a once in a every 44-year chance to put some systems in place that are environmentally conscious and that we're minimizing our carbon footprint. And so how has climate change been taken into consideration with many of these things that are on the list?
No, we're totally fine. So as I talked about a little bit briefly, the Clean Building Energy Standards, right? The state has come out, I think back in 2019, and passed a law saying if you got a building over a certain amount of square feet, you have to meet this new standard of energy use index. It's a score basically that are given to buildings on their energy use and resource conservation efforts. You know, just in the fact with the systems and building being over 40 years old, any new system you put into that building is going to have energy reduction efforts. We're really focused on making the building as energy efficient as possible and not bringing systems like natural gas and things like that into the building, right? Right now, the building has has a very minimal carbon footprint because everything's electric within the building. So we're absolutely focused on that effort, on making this building as energy efficient as possible, as green as possible. We've asked our prime contractor to look at sustainable materials when we're making design decisions and things like that. So it's a very high priority for this, and just doing things like getting the control system under control basically and newer allows us to turn the lights off just that much sooner, right? And also with peak energy hours and things like that from the utility, we're able to time when our systems kick on so that we're paying less and using less energy when everybody else is using energy at that same time. So very much a focus of this project.
Great. And with those different considerations, are there, outside of the bond, are there financing options that are specific to projects that are taking environmental considerations in their, I'm not phrasing that well, it's been
Yeah,
a
I'm
very
sorry.
long day.
It's okay.
So okay, I'll just be a little bit more direct. At the county, they recently passed the CPACER legislation, which allows for low-cost financing for building renovations that address climate change and improve a building's carbon footprint.
Right.
So there's financing options out there that might be lower cost to the city than a bond, or there might be grant applications, like as you had mentioned, through Department of Commerce. So I guess I'd like to hear more about financing options outside of the general fund or that have been considered to lower the cost.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with maybe any outside options, Lori, if you know of anything.
I think we can provide council a summary of financing as we've determined, and then what other opportunities there may have been or may be for us. So we'll get back to you on that.
Great, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Councilmember Bader.
Thanks, Council President. Do we have any, we'll have to issue bonds, do we have any estimate, obviously I know rates fluctuate, but what the payment on the bonds is going to look like and over what period of time we think we might have to pay that?
I'd actually shared with Susie, she did not need to attend tonight. So risking that there may be some questions on financing that we're not prepared to answer tonight, we'll get that information back to council. Jennifer can also reiterate that next week at the council meeting for the members of the public as well.
Any other questions, comments?
I have a question.
Oh, thank you.
So, yeah, he had mentioned the Clean Building Energy Standards, and that the other grant that they had applied for was with regards to HVAC. Was that under the early adopter program?
I would have to get back to you, Councilmember Fossey, on that one. I know that we are under talks with both PSE and PUD, and maybe not for this project, but other projects to join the early adopter program that gives us incentives and rebates for changing systems over to more energy efficient and stuff like that. I'd have to get with my RCM, Karen Schraven, on that, but Resource Conservation Manager, sorry. But yeah, we are aware of those programs and are applying, and I believe we've actually joined the PSE, and we're looking to join the PUD early adopter program. So
So this is through the Department of Commerce, and it's dollars. So that's why I was curious of, could you possibly send out the information about the what grants you have applied for? I know you said that you're out of the grant cycle, but this stuff is often retroactive after you meet the standard.
Sure.
So I would love the information on that. And then also, could you remind me how many square feet
The tenant improvement of the building,
building?
100,000 square feet. And it's 47,000 approximately square feet of tenant improvements on this project.
So you would be tier 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have
Thank
to,
you.
and we have, and speaking to those clean building energy standards, we have to have this project done by 2026 so that I can compile a year's worth of data to show that we're operating at that level that the state is requiring for us. So, and if we don't meet that 2027 deadline for this building, then there will start to be penalties for noncompliance.
Well, I mean, if you're an early adopter, though, that early on, anyways.
Yeah.
It's per square foot incentives. Right. Okay. Yeah, I thank you for sending that in email. I look forward to seeing it.
Is that all? Okay, thank you, Councilmember Fosse. Councilmember Zarlingo.
Just one last question. Do you happen to know a general, and I'm only interested in a kind of a general sense here, of the balance of, in the costs of labor versus materials?
I'd have to get back to you on that. Sorry.
It's
I wish I had like a 30-70 or a 60-40 or something like that. I just don't have that.
For me, it's just mostly curiosity about these projects in general, so I understand how they're going.
Well, we'll be tracking all that, so I'd be happy to report that back to you.
Yeah, don't put a priority on that.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have
no
more
worries,
important
no
things.
worries.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I had a couple of comments. I appreciate the labor analysis, very much so. And the process of using the utility bonds is probably going to be some of the best financing that we can receive. Also, do you plan on vacating the building completely?
No, that's what makes this a fun one. So our procurement process was a GCCM process, that's General Contractor Construction Management. That allowed us to go through the CPAR board to hire our prime contractor while we were in design. So they were there to help with that process. And that allows us to keep the building operational while we're doing this work. So this year and a half's long worth of work, I will continue to keep the building operational, keep you guys working, keep clerks, planning, legal, everybody, right, keep working. There will be some disruptions, but we plan to maintain operations.
Thank you. And then currently, about 60% of the building is occupied? Is that
Yes,
correct?
currently, right
And
now.
so what's the goal for admin to fully occupy the building after this construction then?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, I'm curious about transportation plans, ride sharing, that sort of programs. I'm assuming we've thought through that a bit.
Yeah, we'll be working collaboratively with our Public Works Department, who's the largest group of employees that are moving up here to facilitate not only carpooling, but just in terms of, we do some work from home already. Our telecommute policies have helped us out as well, and coordinating that, but that's work to come.
Thank you for that work, by the way. All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't have anything further at this time, so no further business. We are now adjourned.